Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am Deepa. So many of you know me, and few of those who don't know me, then I'll be taking up business economics for you, right? So, how many of you are all inter students, or how many of you are degree students? Degree? First year? Are you degree first year? Okay. Second year? Okay. Thank you. So, are you all familiar with the subject of economics, or are you from science or any other background? Anybody who is from science background? Yes, from science background. Okay. Anybody from physics or chemistry background? No. Okay. So this is the first time you are hearing economics then? Okay, fine. Now, if are you all familiar with the syllabus? Syllabus of economics, which is there in your CA foundation? No. Okay. So if you look at the syllabus, you find that these are the contents which are there in your syllabus. First chapter, it is Introduction to Business Economics. Okay, where you find the basic terms and terminology connected with business economics. So even beginners can learn by reading this, and when I'm explaining it, I am going to start from the basics, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, and whatever are the basic problems and the role of price mechanism, whatever is there. So ఇప్పుడు కనిపిస్తుందా? Right. Able to see now? This is the first time I'm using this particular device here, so that's the reason why a little bit of adjustment. Next class onwards, maybe I'll hone the skills. Okay, now if you look at it, meaning and scope of business economics, though there are only 2 points, if you look at your material that is from your CA foundation, it is not so simple. Okay, there are so many things which are between the lines. There are so many things which are a part of this particular chapter, which we are going to learn, right, in detail. You don't have to worry about anything being missed. So we are going to learn each and every concept which is there in this particular chapter. Okay, now if you look into the second chapter, you have all majorly done all of this in your intermediate first year. Those who have economics, you all have done this majorly in your first year of intermediate, right? And if you have done your +2 or anything like that, maybe in your 12th also, because few of them have syllabus which is a little bit different, right? But nevertheless, you are all familiar with these concepts, right? But just because you are familiar doesn't mean that we are just going to wrap it up in a fast manner or anything like that. We are going to do at leisure, each and everything covered. Okay, now if you look at the theory of demand and supply, everything from the concept of demand and supply to law of demand and supply to factors affecting demand and supply to concept of elasticity of demand and supply and factors affecting demand and supply, everything will be covered in this particular chapter, right? So you have to be familiar with not only the concepts but also the diagrams, the graphs, because they are equally important in your multiple choice questions, because they may be giving you certain diagrams and asking you to identify certain things, right? So simultaneously we will be learning the diagrams as well. So economics cannot be without diagrams, so it's very important for us to understand that. Okay, and then you have the third one, which is theory of production and cost, right, where we are going to learn everything about these concepts of what is production, what is cost, how the firms produce, how the cost is determined, what are the different kinds of laws relating to it. All of that we are going to study in this, right? And determination of price determination in different markets, where actually what all you have learned in the first 3 chapters, that is first 3 units, all of that will be put together, coming together in this fourth chapter, which is the price determination in markets, because demand, supply, your consumer behavior, whatever is there, all those theories will be culminating in this particular, coming together in this particular unit, right? So in markets we will be actually revisiting all the concepts that we have learned previously in the previous chapters, right? So if you have understood everything before this, then markets will become very easy for you to understand, right? And then determination of national income, till last exam it was not there. Okay, last whoever have attempted it, national income was not a part of it. It was before, about 2 years before, where the Indian economy was a part of this particular CPT. When CPT was there, then we had national income. We only had business cycles last exam. This time we have few new chapters which you have to be aware of. One is national income. Business cycles was already there, but then you will find this particular chapter, which is again an addition, public finance, where we will be learning about budget making, how the expenditure and revenue of the government is determined. Okay, and fiscal is basically government revenue and expenditure, right? FISCAL, fiscal means government revenue and expenditure. So this is where we are talking about everything relating to the government, how it earns its revenue, how it spends its expenditure. That is what we are going to learn, right? And then coming to money market, which was there for CMA students, not for CA students, but this time you will find it as a part of your CA foundation, right? So we are going to learn about money, we are going to talk about theories of money, and a little bit of new addition, which is cryptocurrency and the other new terminology which is part of it. Monetary policy actually was related to Reserve Bank of India. It was again a previous chapter in the earlier years, right? But now it is a part of this which we are going to study again. And of course, international trade, again a new chapter. It was not there earlier, right? So here we are going to learn about the theories of international trade, including that mentioned by Krugman. Then instruments of trade policy, trade negotiations, exchange rates and its economic effects, international capital movements, and so on and so forth. Now one thing you have to understand is, in economics, in today's times, especially with the global environment, you will find that international trade has become very, very important, right, in deciding how the economy functions. And that is the reason why there is a reason as to why they have included this particular chapter, right, in your syllabus. Okay, and then of course you have the 10th, where we just learn a little bit of basic things. Before 1950, you know Arthashastra, which is written by Kautilya or Chanakya. Have you heard about it? Arthashastra is the earliest economic treatise which was written by Chanakya, also known as Kautilya, right? The very historical figure who was the first one to actually talk about economics in the history of India, right? So that was during the Nand Vansh. That is, Nandas were overthrown by Mauryas, and Maurya's teacher or the person who brought him to the throne was Chanakya, right? So that is what it is. And then you have the OECD paper. This is again, it is Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. It is a kind of a body, an organization which consists of different countries coming together for cooperation and development. So that is what is this OECD, right? And of course, basic knowledge of what happened during 1991 and how the liberalization, privatization and globalization process took place in India. Basically, that is what it deals with. Okay, so this is the syllabus that you have in your economics. Now, coming to the weightage. So if you look at your weightage, Introduction to Business Economics consists of 5%. 5% of weightage, the first chapter. The second one, theory of demand and supply, consists of 10% of weightage. So if you write down the weightage, it will be useful for you when you are revising. You can concentrate on those units where you get more weightage. Better to write. First unit 5%, second unit 10%. Third unit again 10%. Production and costs 10%. Did all of you write? Can I go to the next page? The fourth one, 15% markets. Again, determination of national income is 15%. So it has more weightage when compared to the other microeconomic units, whereas from national income it is macroeconomic units. Okay, national income 15%. Then business cycles 5%. Business cycles 5%. Okay, then public finance 10%. %10 of weightage. Then money market is 10%. Then international trade is 10%. Whereas Indian economy is 10%. Okay, now the most important thing you have to remember is the last bold line. That is a deviation of maximum of plus or minus 5% in the specified section wise weightage is permitted. That means he can give 5% more or 5% less in few of the chapters and give more importance to other chapters. There is nothing that you cannot deny. Okay, you can't say that you said 10%, you have given 15% weightage. You can't accuse them person. Okay, so that's why you have to be thorough with all the chapters. So if you see these chapters, except for the first chapter which is only 5%, rest of them range between 10 to 15%, isn't it? So that means all chapters are important. Okay, so let us concentrate today in this basic class. Again, I'm coming back to basics. Basic terminology, that is what we are going to learn in this particular class. I'm going to start with all the basic concepts. Those who have already heard my class, you should be the one to tell me what we have learned. And those who are attending for the first time, you can recall what you have learned in your intermediate and you can tell me. And those who are attending the subject for the first time, you can take a guess. Okay, shall we start? Okay, so first of all, let us see the first concept. What happened? Pen. Okay, so economic activity and non-economic activity. Can you tell me what is the difference and what is the definition? Yes. Okay. Service motive, only service? Only service? What other motive? If I am teaching my own children, is it because of service motive? It could be because of any kind of personal feelings, right? It could be love, it could be sympathy, it could be politeness, right? It could be any kind of friendliness. Okay, so whenever a particular activity is performed, right, where there is no intention of earning money or spending money, basically that is what is called as a non-economic activity. So to make it more clear, you only can remember three things which should be a part of economic activity. If any of these three things are missing, it is a non-economic activity. Very simple to remember like that. The first thing that should be a part of economic activity is there should be three things. Three things which are a part of economic activity. First one, it should be what? Income. Somebody should be earning income in this activity. Okay, one person or the other person. Somebody should be earning income. You go to a shop, you spend some money to purchase a biscuit packet, right? The income is earned by shopkeeper, isn't it? So somebody is earning income in this. You are rendering a service. I am coming and teaching to you in this class, right? So I am earning income for the service rendered, right? So income is generated in this activity. But if that alone is generated, that is not called as the end of economic activity. Income should be followed by, or it should be matched by the expenditure. So if I am spending money to buy a biscuit packet, the shopkeeper only then earns his income, isn't it? So whatever I spent is my expenditure. Whatever the other person is earning is the income. Correct? So one man is spending money, the other man is getting the income. So expenditure is resulting in income. Correct? So two things are there. Income, somebody should be earning income, and the second, somebody should be spending that money to give that income to somebody. In between, what is happening? In between, what is happening? Exchange is happening, isn't it? Yes or no? Right? It is not free that the person is earning income. It is not for free that they are spending some money. I am expecting something for the money that I have spent. The shopkeeper is earning income not for free because he is giving something. Correct? So because I am rendering a service, in exchange I am getting income, you are spending the money. Likewise, the shopkeeper is earning income because he is selling something, some good to you. That is why you are spending and he is earning. Correct? So when all the three things are existing in an activity, income, expenditure, exchange, only then it is called as economic activity. All the three should be present. Okay? Even if one of them is missing, it cannot be called as an economic activity. For example, I go back and teach my own children, right? My children are not spending any any expenditure, so expenditure is not there. I am not earning any income, so income is not there. Maybe only service is exchange, that's it. So only one thing is there, two things are missing. Correct? Likewise, you donate money to charity, some orphanage, some old age home or something like that. From your side, expenditure is there. For the institution which is receiving it, income is there. But there is no exchange. They are not promising you to give you anything, isn't it? So there is no exchange involved. So that is why it is a non-economic activity. Okay? Likewise, a thief, a robber, he steals something. For stealing something, he is not spending any amount of money. Right? Let us say he spends some money, that is expenditure for his part. right? But he is earning income because he is selling whatever he has stolen somewhere by selling, but there is no exchange. Correct? So that means one of the things is always missing, isn't it? So if all the three are there, only then it is called as an economic activity. If I mean to say, if even one of them is missing, it is termed as a non-economic activity. So non-economic activity can be done for friendship, for any kind of kindness, for any kind of charity, any kind of sympathy, any kind of service motive, where we do not expect anything in return or any kind of exchange. Okay, so this is the difference between economic activity and non-economic activity. Clear with everybody, with everyone? Are you able to understand? Right? Especially you. If you have any doubts, you should raise your hand. Okay, because we are economics faculty, so we are very fond of assumptions. So I keep assuming that everybody understands, so that is why you have to bring me down to the earth, saying that you didn't understand. Okay, clear? Right. So coming to the next one, let us talk about 4 major, I am to say, words which are very important because the definitions of economics are based on it. The first one is wealth, then you have welfare, then you have scarcity, then you have growth. Okay, now before we go into the definitions, I am not touching the definitions just now, right? I am just talking about the meaning of these words. Then we will go to definitions. Okay, as I said, I am concentrating only on concepts today. So what is wealth? Money. Other than money, there is no wealth. Huh? Money or money's worth. Okay, can you give me a more elaborate example? Wealth can include what? Money's worth means what? Give me examples. Land, property, okay, property, real estate, including all put together. Then gold, diamonds, financial instruments, stock, shares, bonds, all of those are also wealth, no? Right? Anything else? Any goods and services, correct? Whatever you possess, your luxury cars, watches, any kind of an asset in your homes, including AC, tablets, phones, everything is a wealth for you, isn't it? Right? Now, when we are talking about wealth, what you have to remember is it has 4 characteristics. Only then it can be called as wealth. Okay? What are the 4 characteristics? The 4 characteristics is that wealth should have utility. The wealth should have scarcity. The wealth should have value in exchange. And wealth should have transferability. These are the 4 things a wealth should possess. Okay, so when we are talking about wealth, if it has these 4 characteristics, it is called as wealth. Okay, so first of all, let us talk about what utility is. See, we are going from one concept to another concept. Right? So what is utility? Anybody? Everybody knows what utility is. Satisfying the wants. The power of satisfying the wants. If any commodity or a service has the capacity to satisfy your want. Want means desire. Okay, so before I go into want and this one, I think I need to differentiate between what a want is and what a need is. Otherwise, again, there is a kind of a confusion. Need is something which is basic, requisite, that is basic, essential, which is required for our survival. Food, clothing, shelter, if you talk about it, these are the basic needs of human for survival. Without these three things, a man cannot survive in the world. Correct? Now, when we talk about water, right, it is a need. But if I say I want ice water, okay, or I want it in the form of a juice, or I want very fresh water, Himalayan water, or some other water, mineral water, right, or I would say something full of minerals or anything like that, RO water, whatever it is. If I specify, then that means it is not just a need, it is a desire, it is a want. Okay, that is what is the difference between a need and a want. Likewise, any food is enough to satisfy our hunger. But if I say I want burgers, I want pizza, I want a chocolate, I want a dosa, I want a something else to satisfy my hunger, then it is my want. It is my desire. Right? Or if I say that I want to sleep, even on the floor we can sleep. But if I say I want a cot, I want a mattress, I want a bed, right? And all of this is what? Again, wants or desires. Okay? So need is basic, basic requisite, basic need which is required for our survival. Okay? Whereas want is our desire to satisfy. So it is basically to increase our satisfaction, right, that we have wants. If we satisfy our wants, then we get completely content. We are satisfied with it, right? So when we are talking about utility here, what you have to understand is that any commodity which has a capacity to satisfy our want, not just need, our want, then it is said to be having utility. Okay, so for example, I want to write, and that is the reason why this particular pen, right, can satisfy my want of writing. It has the power to satisfy that want, so that means it has utility. Please understand, in economics, utility is different from usefulness. Okay, because when we talk about usefulness, only if it is useful, that is when it is I mean to say useful in the sense that whether it is good for our health and good for our well-being, then it is called as useful. If we say junk food, if I am hungry, I want to go and eat junk food. Burger, pizza, cake, whatever it is. But I can't say that it is useful for me, because it is harmful for my health. Correct? But my desire is want. To satisfy my hunger, I want to have pizza or a burger. Right? So in that case, what is happening? Burger and pizza have the capacity to satisfy my want. They have utility. But doesn't mean that they are useful. Okay? So in economics, usefulness is different and having utility, power to satisfy the want, is different. There may be a drunkard, right, or a person who drinks. I'm not saying always all are alcoholics or all are drunkards, but a person who drinks, it may not be useful for him, but definitely it satisfies his desire, isn't it? So that means that liquor bottle has utility for that person. Okay, so that is what you mean by utility. So what is utility? Utility is power to satisfy our wants. Okay, now this is first feature of wealth, that it should have utility. If it has no utility, it cannot be called as wealth. Okay, the second feature is what? Scarcity. So can anyone define what is scarcity? Huh? Limited resources. Compared to what? Less than adequate. How do you define adequate? So you have to start talking in terms of economics. Okay. Or otherwise, when supply is lesser than demand, that is what is called as scarcity. Okay, whenever any commodity is available in lesser quantities than what is demanded, what is required, as you have said, right? As you have required, as you said, as your requirement. Less than adequate. Adequate means people should find that whatever is available, that is more than enough, right? If you find that it is lesser than what is required, then that is what is called as scarcity. So in economics, we call it as supply being lesser than demand. Okay, so when supply is less than demand, so scarcity is supply lesser than demand. Okay, we will come back to these terms demand and supply in a short while. What is meant by that? Not able to. Next, value in exchange. We come to the term value in exchange. Now what you have to remember is, whenever we are talking about value, value is basically any kind of we are talking about whatever is the worth of that particular commodity, right? It can be expressed in two ways. Value can be expressed in terms of usage, and it can be expressed in terms of exchange. Okay, so for example, if you are talking about water, water is having a tremendous amount of value in use. Yes or no? Without water, we can't even survive. Correct? For everything we need water, right from the moment we get up to the moment we sleep, we need water. But what is happening is that when we try to exchange this water for something precious, then we don't have that much of value in exchange for water, isn't it? I take a bucket of water, go to a shop. I want to exchange my bucket of water for 1 kg of rice. Nobody is going to give it to me. Even a pen, maybe nobody will give it to me. Correct? Correct? Why? It is because there are certain things which are free gift of nature, which are not made by man, and these are called as free goods. Right? So like water, sunlight, air, which are free goods. And keeping the water present situation aside, always the supply of these things is more than demand, more than adequate. Plenty. Air, we have plenty. Sunlight, we have plenty. Water, till recently we had plenty, right? Or that is why nobody charges money, right? Till recently, except for water, nobody is charging money for sunlight, air or water. If you want to take water from sea, nobody is going to charge you. If you want to take water from rivers, no one is charging you. If you want to go to a lake or a pond and take water, nobody is charging you, are they? No. Isn't it? It's a different thing when that water has come into your tap. Okay? But what we are saying is that these goods, which are free goods, free gifts of nature, are freely available. They do not cost money because the supply is more than demand, more than what is required. That is why nobody is charging, right? But why has now water started becoming a commodity where you are paying money for it? Because of shortage. Okay, we are not talking about water from lakes and ponds. We are basically talking about tap water, your mineral water, your water bottle where you drink it, right? Your mineral water bottles. So if you want to have it at your doorstep where it is not available, where somebody has to get it for you, then it is costing you, right? And that situation has arisen because demand is more, supply is less. Okay, so when we are talking about this value in use, most of the free goods and economic goods means goods which are produced by man. Okay, anything which is in and around you except for the free sunlight, air and water, you find that all of them are made by man, isn't it? Building is made by man, desk is made by man, phone is made by man, pen is made by man, books are made by man, your benches are made by man, tube lights are made by man. Everything is a man-made good. That is why when you are producing a man-made good, you have to spend money to produce it. Money for what? For raw material, for labor charges, for machinery charges, for service charges, whatever, all put together. You have to spend some money for the production of that particular product, isn't it? That is why you have to spend some money for producing it. That is why when you are selling that good, you are charging something from the person who is using it. Correct? So that is the reason why you find that they have some kind of a cost which is involved in it. That is why when you are talking about economic goods, any good made by man, they have value in exchange. Okay, even a biscuit packet has a value in exchange, even a pen has a value in exchange, even a book has a value in exchange. They are not free. They have some value in which has to be expressed in terms of money, right? And in money terms you buy and you sell. So when we are talking about value in use, we are only talking about in usage, how useful is it. But when it comes to exchange, we are talking about how much it matters in terms of money. Okay, and can you get anything in exchange for it or not? So all economic goods will have both value in use and value in exchange. Whereas free goods will only have value in use, but they do not have value in exchange. Alright? So basically when we are talking about wealth, and when we say that it has value in exchange, we are saying that wealth is mostly man-made goods. Right? It is man-made good. That is why they should have value in exchange. Okay? So three things covered: utility, scarcity, value in exchange. The one about transferability is, if it should be possible for you to transfer the ownership from one person to another person, only then it can be called as wealth in economics. Okay, for example, my property, I can change the ownership from my name to your name. I can make it into your name. Right? Gold, I can give it to you. Right? Any of the assets that I have, AC, cooler, whatever it is, I can give it to you. Yes or no? So that is what is called as transferability. When I am able to transfer the ownership of my wealth into your name, that is what is called as wealth. Okay? So wealth should have these four characteristics: utility, scarcity, value in exchange and transferability. Okay? Clear to everybody? Any doubts? You are free to ask. Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. Okay? Can I move to the next concept? Yes. Next is welfare. So what is welfare? What is welfare? What is welfare? So many times we have learned. What is welfare? Very simple. In other words, well-being. What is well-being? I'm looking after my welfare. I'm looking after my well-being. What do you mean by that? Mama? State of happiness. Welfare is state of happiness. Government wants to look after the welfare of people. He wants to make the people happy. I want to look after the welfare of my family. I want to make them happy. I am looking after my well-being. Being well means being happy. Okay, so it's very simple. Welfare is what? State of happiness. Is it very cramped? Can I erase a few things? Or I will go to the next one. You wrote this? Can I move to the next page so that there will be more clarity? Right? Now already we have learned about scarcity, isn't it? Just now we said that whenever the supply is lesser than demand, it is called as scarcity. Growth is what? So whenever the existing resources, whatever man has as resources, it could be land, free gifts of nature, forest, soil, minerals, anything. Then labor, right? Then capital, any asset which can help in the production of goods and services. That is what is capital. I'll come back to that again, right? And organization, that is any kind of entrepreneurship skills, right? Somebody has to manage business, somebody has to look after it. Now all of these put together, when the resources are developing, increasing either quantitatively or qualitatively, right? It could be more in volume or in quality, they may become better. Either ways, it is called as growth. Okay, so that is what you mean by growth. Development of resources, qualitatively or quantitatively. Okay, that is what is growth. Now coming to one more, I am going to say 4 other sets of concepts. We have learned previously wealth, welfare, scarcity, growth. We have learned utility, scarcity, value in exchange, value in use, transferability, right? And we have learned what is value. We have learned what is want and need in the basic thing. Now we will talk about what is demand and what is supply. Because we have used these terms in the previous conversation, that is why I want to clarify. So when we talk about demand in economics, right? Demand means what? Partly. You have to tell me the full thing. See, according to a common man, that is any person who is walking on the street, if you ask what demand is, then you can only say, he will only say that if I want a particular commodity, that is what is demand. Okay, because I want a commodity, that is demand, right? But in economics, that alone cannot be called as demand. There are 3 things again which can be which have to be together to be called as demands. One, you need to have desire for the commodity. Just like I said wants, I want that commodity. Yes, you should have the desire. That is the first thing. Okay. Second thing is, a beggar also may have a desire to own a Rolls-Royce car, or for that matter a bungalow, isn't it? But doesn't mean that he can have the purchasing power to buy it, right? He doesn't have the capacity to purchase. He doesn't have the purchasing power, ability to pay. He doesn't have the ability to pay, right? So the second thing that you have to remember is, apart from the desire for the commodity, you also need to have the ability to pay for the commodity. That is the second thing. Okay. The third thing is, you may be Anil Ambani or somebody, right? But if you are not willing to pay the price for that commodity as quoted today, you may not have the willingness. You are bored of that commodity. You have money, you have desire, but today I don't want that commodity. Then it is not willingness. So apart from the ability to pay, you also need to have the willingness to pay for the commodity. Okay. So demand is what? Desire to buy. Then you should have the ability to pay. And then you should have the willingness to pay. Okay. Only when all the three things are there, it is called as demand. More about demand when we come to the chapter of demand. Okay. Similarly, though supply is a mirror image of demand, because it is an opposite force of demand, what is the definition of supply? You can't have the same definition as demand. What is supply then? You need to be a little bit more specific. You are almost there. Anybody? Supply. Come on, don't tell me we have all done all of this. That itself is actually production. Anybody? Yes. And is that it? Willing to sell? Let us say that I have about 100 kgs of tomatoes, right, in my godown. Okay. Today the price of tomatoes is 10 rupees per kg, let us say. Okay. Tomorrow I am expecting the prices of tomatoes to rise to 30 rupees per kg. Today for 10 rupees per kg, out of those 100 kgs that I have in my godown, I am only willing to offer 20 kgs out of those 100 kgs at that price. Tomorrow, because the price is going to be better, I am willing to offer all my 100 kgs for selling at that particular price. So what do I gather from this? So the quantity of goods which are offered for sale at a particular price. Okay, what you are willing to sell, right, correct, but what you are willing to sell at a particular price at a particular time is what is called as supply. Okay, so what is supply? Quantity of goods offered for sale at a particular price and at a particular point of time is called supply. Okay, so this is where you find supply means out of the stock that you have, how much are you willing to sell at a particular price? That is what is called as supply. So you may have hundreds of things in stock, but exactly how much are you willing to sell at this price? That is what is supply. Okay, so that is what is the difference between demand and supply. Then coming to a concept called as production, because just now we were learning about production, producing goods. So can anyone tell me what is production? Production, definition. Forgot so soon. Manufacturing something for selling the good. And what else? Part of it is correct. It is only part of the definition. I'll tell you why. You're right, but it is only a part. Actually, the definition of production is very small. Only 3 letters, 3 words, sorry. What is it? That is more than 3 words, no? Anybody? Amma? Creation of utility. Instead of making, use the word creation of utility. That is what is production. Please make a note. Production is creation of utility. Creation of utility, because we are not just talking about one type of utility here. Just now we spoke about utility, isn't it? Utility can be of 4 types. Okay, you might have learned about it. What are they? What are the different types of utility? First one you forgot. Form. Form utility. So when we are talking about form, place, time and service utility, any type of utility which is created by man can be called as production in economics. For example, you have a log of wood. You can sit on log of wood, nothing wrong. But if it is converted into furniture, it creates more utility, more satisfaction for the consumer. Correct or not? More comfort, yes. Correct? So that means you are changing the form of a good to give more satisfaction to the consumer. Form utility, you are creating, changing the form. That is what is called as manufacture, what you are saying. Conversion of raw materials into finished goods is form utility. Okay? Likewise, when you talk about place utility, if you are talking about refrigerators and freezers, they are very useful in hot places like ours. If you sell those refrigerators and freezers in Iceland or Alaska or Siberia or anything, there is no use, because already the temperatures are very cold. They don't need refrigerators. No satisfaction there for the good. But if you change the place, right, the place is creating satisfaction, right? So that also is called as production in economics. If you change the place and make the goods available at a place where the consumer needs it, that is also called as utility. That is also called production, right? Similarly, time utility. Same ACs, if they are made available in winter, there is no satisfaction for you. But because it is a summer, you are gaining the advantage of it. You are feeling it more satisfied because of the usage of it. So time, you are creating a time utility for it. That also is called as production. Service utility. Whenever a service is needed by the consumer, let us say I want to invest somewhere, I need financial services or banking services. I need to get educated, I need educational services. I need to go from one place to another place, I need transportation services. I need to speak to somebody, I need communication services, right? So all of these are the services which when are rendered give satisfaction to the consumer. So when you are creating such a kind of a service, that also is called as utility. Okay, so whether you are creating form utility, place utility, time utility or service utility, all of that is termed as creation of utility, which is put together called as production. Okay, so this is the word production that we are talking about. Clear? Right. Now we come to one more. After production, we definitely should talk about consumption, isn't it? So what is consumption? Consuming. What is production? Producing. What is exchange? Exchanging. What is distribution? Distributing. Huh? That is why dictionaries are made here, to know what is the meaning of these terms. Huh. So can anyone tell me what is consumption? What do you mean by this? Of usage of goods and services. For what purpose? Correct. For satisfaction of our wants. So usage, it is not just usage, purchase and usage. Consumption is not just about usage, it is also about purchase. We need to purchase, then we need to use the goods and services to satisfy our wants. Right? Only then it is called as consumption. Okay? So consumption is not just eatables. Any kind of a good and service which we are using for the satisfaction of our wants is called as consumption. Okay? Right now, the service that I am rendering, you are consuming for the satisfaction. Likewise, you find that you are using a pen. That is also consumption. Okay, so don't think that consumption is only reduced to eating. That is not alone consumption. Any usage of goods and services for the satisfaction of your wants, which are used for the satisfaction of your wants, is called as consumption. Okay, now while we are talking about this consumption, can you tell me the difference between a consumer and a customer? Customer and consumer can be the same or can be different. As she said, customer and consumer can be the same or can be different. For example, I am a customer who goes and let us say buys chocolates in a shop. But I don't use those chocolates, I give it to my children, let us say. Right? So my children are the consumers, I am the customer. Let us say that I purchase an ice cream and eat it myself. I am the customer as well as the consumer. Okay, so that is what is the difference between customer. Customer is on a repeated basis. If a person goes and purchases something regularly, that is what is called as customer. Custom, repeated practice. Customer, one who performs that practice. Okay, so customer and consumer. Then coming to distribution. So can anyone tell me what is distribution? Forgot. Distribution. First bench. Distribution. Don't remember. Last bench. Boys. Distribution. Come on. Anybody, take a guess. Distribution is not supply. Distribution is not transportation. Providing what? Providing is what? Providing what? To whom? That is not distribution. Actually, this is the most misinterpreted word in economics. Distribution in economics means for who? Distribution in economics means how you are determining the share of the 4 factors of production. You know that for production of any commodity or a service, you need 4 things. 1, you need land. You need some place to start production. Even for a college, you need a place. Second, you need labor, some workers to help. Third, you need capital, machines, tools, equipment, money, assets. All of this is capital. Fourth, you need somebody to look after the business, right? Organization. So 4 things: land, labor, capital, organization. These 4 are called as factors of production. Okay, what are they? Land, labor, capital, organization. Okay, this is the most oftenly used word, so you should remember it. Okay, 4 factors of production. Now, how the rent is decided, how the wages are decided, how the interest is decided for capital, how the profits are decided for the organization. Since one of the students doesn't know the rewards for the 4 factors of production, land is paid rent as a reward. Labor is paid wages as a reward. Capital is paid interest as a reward. Okay? You borrow money from somebody, from a bank or anything, you have to pay interest, no? Right? So if you are using it for production of goods and services, that money that you have borrowed is called as capital. Okay? An organization should be paid profits. So these are the 4 rewards for the 4 factors of production. Now you know that every work, any good or a service, the rewards for the 4 factors of production are decided differently or not? Right? Any person producing a pen, for that rent is different, labor is different, wages are different, profits are different, interest is different. Likewise, some other product you produce, those things are different. So how are the 4 factors of production's rewards determined? How is it decided? That process is called as distribution. Okay, so determination of the share, in other words, rewards for the 4 factors of production. Okay, so determination of the share of the four factors of production is what is called as distribution. So as I said, rent plus wages plus interest plus profit. How these things are decided is what is called as distribution. Okay, right. Then we come to, as I said just now, we used the word capital. So let me come back to this. So capital, as I said, is any asset. Please understand, it is man-made. That is used in production process. Is called as capital. Okay. For example, let us say you are talking about tools. You are talking about equipment. You are talking about machinery. You are talking about buildings. You are talking about furniture. Okay. Or you can even talk about just money. All of these are termed as capital in economics. Okay, with the money that you have, you can convert that into any asset which will help you in the production process. That particular man-made good is what is called as capital. It should be man-made. It is not a free gift of nature. Okay, so that is what you mean by capital. Okay, now let me be very, very clear. When we talk about land in economics, often we only think about the ground, the soil, the mud that is there on earth. That is what is taken as land in economics for any common man. But let me be very clear that in economics, land just doesn't mean that ground. Land will include what? All kinds of water resources. So all lakes, rivers, seas, everything is part of land in economics. If you talk about land, that is land. Likewise, it can be mineral resources. It could be forest resources. It could be soil resources. Okay, all put together is land in economics. So, for example, if you are talking about people fishing, okay, they have to fish. For them, what is land? Water. Okay, see, just like a factory needs a place to set up the building and start producing, fishermen need to go into the water to fish, to catch fish. So water for them is nothing but land for them. It's a factor of production for them. Okay, so this is where we are talking about water resources, mineral resources, forest resources and soil resources. Okay, so again the basic terminology. What else? Cost. Now, do you know that cost and price are different? What is the difference between cost and price? I'm sure in your maths also you might have learned about it, cost, price, selling price. So here when we are talking about it, cost is the expenses which are incurred by the producer. for producing goods and services. Whereas price is what? Cost plus margin of profit. This can even include taxes. Because when it comes into the market, you find that apart from profit, taxes are also included, isn't it? So that is why price will include all of those things. So that is the difference between cost and price. So whenever we are talking about cost, we are basically talking from the producer's point of view. When we are talking about price, we are talking from the customer's point of view. Okay, that is what is the difference. Now, apart from cost, what else is there? What are the other terminologies you come across, but maybe you are not familiar with it? Anything else? Okay. Now, because we are in the first unit, let me talk about what is an economic system. Because we come across this in the first chapter itself. So what is an economic system? You might have heard about capitalism, socialism, mixed economy. Correct? Let me tell you that these are all examples of economic systems. So what is an economic system? What is an economic system? Amma? Yes, you can say that. So the procedure which will involve the different kinds of processes, different kinds of people, different kinds of, let us say, institutions or organizations, right? So you can say that it is a framework. It's a blueprint kind of a thing where it involves all of these things that we have just now spoken about. What are the different procedures? What are the who are the different people who are a part of it? Who are the different organizations? For which, what purpose? For the development of the nation. Right? So that is what is an economic system. It is a framework. Right? It is a framework consisting of all of these things which will work towards the development of a country. Right? So in this economic system, we basically come across three different types of economic systems. One is what? The capitalist system. Second one is what? Socialist system. Third is mixed economy. Okay, so when we talk about this capitalist system, which is usually followed in US, UK and other Western countries, majority, I will not say all, majority countries is a capitalist system. Now what are the features of a capitalist system? What happens in a capitalist system? Correct? So profit motive is a main criteria. Right? So we will talk about the capitalist system. Profit motive is a main criteria. Everybody looks to earn profit. More than that, you have to understand that the means of production, that is the factors of production, are privately owned. Means of production are in private hands. That means private individuals have ownership on land, labor, capital, organization. That is what you mean by means of production in private hands. Government will own very little. In US, if you talk about all the different kinds of industries, different kinds of production of goods and services, everything is in the hands of private individuals, right? That is why here you find that there is price mechanism. Price mechanism means the prices are decided by demand and supply, not by the government. Government will not decide the prices. Okay, everything depends upon demand and supply. How much is the demand? How much is the supply for the commodity? Depending upon that, the prices are decided in the market. Okay, and you have minimum role of government. Only for defense, law and order, right, or health services, maybe the government is there. But for rest of all the activities, the private individuals will be looking after. Okay, and then here you find consumer is the king. Now whatever consumer demands, it will be produced. That means if there is more demand, definitely those goods will be produced or not. So consumer can demand. He has every freedom to choose what he wants. Okay, that is why you call it as consumer is the king. Consumer sovereignty, that is what we talk about. Complete freedom of the consumer to choose anything he wants. Okay, that is why this capitalist system is also called as free market economy. Free market economy, or also called as market economy. Free market economy, or just called as market economy, other name for capitalist system. Okay, now socialist system is exactly opposite to this. Okay, for example, if you take China, if you take Cuba, if you take North Korea, if you take Vietnam, all of these are socialist economies. In socialist economies, what happens? All means of production are in the hands of governments. That means land, labor, capital, organization is owned by the governments. Means of production in hands of the government. Okay, then you don't have price mechanism. No price mechanism. Why? Because the prices are decided by the government. Okay, government will fix the prices for everything. And then you find no choice for consumers. Because whatever government produces, you have to consume. So maximum role played by the government. Okay, and there is welfare motive. Instead of profit motive, there is welfare motive. Now, these are the main characteristics of socialist economy, and that is why it is also called as command economy, also called as controlled economy, and sometimes it's also called as centrally planned economy. The other names. So as I said, you find Cuba, Vietnam, China, North Korea are few of the countries which follow this socialist economies. Okay, whereas if you talk about mixed economy, then it has a combination of both. Yes, combination of both capitalist features and socialist features. Socialist features. So, two different sectors are available in the mixed economy. One is the public sector, which is owned by the government, and private sector, which is owned by the private individuals. Now, public sector will behave exactly like a socialist economy. All decisions taken by the government, prices decided by the government, welfare motive, means of production in the hands of the government, no, I mean to say, choice for consumers. Whatever is the production done by the public sector, you have to purchase it. Whereas private sector, just like in India, we have mixed economy, right? So in India, whatever are the goods which are produced by private sector, then price mechanism is there, demand and supply will decide the prices. Private people will be taking the decisions, what to produce, what not to produce. Then you find profit motive, because they will be aiming for profits. Government will not interfere in the private industries, right? And they have profit motive as their criteria, right? And you find that there will be what else? Choice for the consumer, where the consumers can choose whatever they want. So that is why this is a combination of capitalist and socialist features. So that is why public sector and private sector, both of them coexist. So you find India, France, okay, and many other countries following examples of mixed economy. Now, because public and private sector should have to, should work together towards the same goal, planning plays a very important role in the mixed economy. Okay, that is why in India also we have a lot of stress on planning, isn't it? Whether it is budget or whether it is Niti Aayog or earlier 5-year plans we used to have, all of these is because planning is very important for our, I am going to say, mixed economy to prosper. That is the reason why. Okay, so these are the three types of economic systems that we have: capitalist system, socialist system, mixed economy. Okay, so you may have to remember the examples also, which country follows which kind of a socialist system. That is what is required. Associated with this, we will come to later on the problems faced by the different economies, right? That is central problems faced by an economy. That is what we are going to learn. Okay, any other concepts that you want to learn now itself? Anybody? We have about 7 minutes. Any concept, your choice. Not even be related to the text. You have heard, but you don't know the meaning. If I know, I will tell. Anyone? Come on. Any concept. You are all in a hurry to go home. Huh? Or will utilize the time properly. No wastage of time. Chalo, tell me. Tell me, what is microeconomics and macroeconomics? What happened? Why are you laughing? Huh? What is micro? What is macro? You want to stall? Hmm. Hmm. Individual what? Individual units. Huh. And hmm. 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 What else? So small, that is what micro means. Whereas this means large. Now this is study of particular or individual units. Whereas here you find it is a study of aggregates. So when you study something, a small part in a detailed manner, this is what is called as micro. Whereas when you study a whole part overall, that is what is called as a macro. Okay, so for example, when we are talking about, for example, individual income, let us say price of a product, or let us say revenue of a firm, or profit of a company. All of these are examples of microeconomics. Whereas if you are talking about, for example, national income, business cycles, yes, you are right, aggregate demand, okay, or for example, employment level in a country, or for that matter, inflation. All of this is what comes under macroeconomics. We will again revisit this when we are doing the first chapter formally. Okay, this is just an introduction to all the concepts. So if you are, I mean to say, aware of all of these concepts, it becomes very easy for us to cruise through the first unit, because you're familiar with most of the concepts. Okay, so I think we will stop here, right? I don't know how I save it. They'll take care, don't worry. That's it then. See you. Bye. Good night.